Hello, beautiful humans. I hope that you are having a great start to your week. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. So I wanted to pop on for a minute and talk about something that I am currently experiencing, and you are probably going to see a shift in me where I am way more transparent and vulnerable about various different things that I am going through. And there's a lot that has gone into making that shift occur inside of me. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about an experience that I had yesterday that was really intense and really beautiful. And it ties into an experience that I have been having over the past 2 months. So if you are in my reality, you know, if you're in my reality and tracking the things that are happening for me, you know that there was a bit of a shit show, is really the best way to say it for me, in the month of August and September. And if you're close to me, you know that I find beauty in the pain of the human experience. I view it very much like childbirth, that you have to go through some amount of pain in order to experience a different level of self, a different level of love, a different level of authenticity. And in the kind of couple months leading into August, I had really set a pretty intense intention that I wanted to step into a more aligned, more authentic, more free expression of me. And August is always a really potent time for me because Lionsgate is on 8/8, and my birthday is on 8/12. And so that portal for me is always a very energetically intense portal. And this year did not disappoint me. Was not comfortable, but it did not disappoint me. And I went through some really profoundly uncomfortable experiences that lasted over the period of 2 months. And I wouldn't trade them. I wouldn't trade them for anything. Did I enjoy them in the moment? There were parts of me that did. There were parts of me that know so deeply in my soul that the pain is always a portal into liberation. The pain is always a portal into a deeper, more aligned, more authentic expression of me. But in the moments where I'm at the upper limit of the way that I can process and be with various different forms of pain, that gets like uncomfortable. And I rode that line, guys. I rode that line. And if you're close to me, you know that I like lines and I like to dance on them and I like to ride them and I like to see what happens for me when I ride a line. And so the universe did what the universe does and served me a line and said, would you like to ride this line? And I was like, yeah, I do. I got my skateboard and I'm riding the line. And it was definitely my upper limit of how I could be with discomfort and pain without turning off, without unplugging, without disassociating, without spiraling. That was the line that I was really riding and learning about myself in what that felt like to be on the line and to be realizing like, oh, this is me like tipping into disassociation. This is me tipping into spiraling. This is me tipping into unplugging, right? Have you ever had that experience where you have a phone or a computer or whatever, some sort of electronic device, and it's like getting a little staticky or something's not working right, and we're just like, restart it, right? You can do that with humans too. We can restart ourselves. We can unplug from the frequency. And so one of the things that was happening for me in the month of August and September, and I do recognize we're still in September, was that I was riding that line and really learning about myself with where and how did I engage with that line. And when I was riding the line of my own ability to stay grounded and present with the experience that I was having, what did it look like? What did it feel like? How did I experience it? And it was a really beautiful experience. And I learned so much about myself in that experience. I really learned to sit with tension inside of my nervous system. I learned to sit with tension inside of my being in a way that I've never been able to do. So it was a really profound, really beautiful experience. Not comfortable. And that's okay. So that's kind of the background about hey, Christine, about August and September. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And I got to witness the way that I engaged with that upper limit of my ability to be with that discomfort, with that pain. And I feel like I kind of settled and have really landed in a pretty beautiful space over the past, I would say, week or two, where I'd had, isolated days, moments, whatever, of feeling really great. But this, I'm kind of like solidly landing in consistency around this new space inside of myself that I'm accessing. And I love fasting. It's something that is very potent for me. And this is the disclaimer part. I am telling you about my experience. I am not inviting, encouraging, nudging you to do a water fast. That is not what I'm doing right now. I'm merely talking about my own lived experience, and you can take from it whatever you take from it. But this is not me inviting, encouraging, promoting you to do a water fast. I love water fasts. I have done them for a period of time. I've done them in various different ways. And I'd been getting this nudge in the months leading up to August, where things kind of went in my reality, that I wanted to do a water fast. And when things really kind of popped off in my reality, it became abundantly clear to me that it actually was not going to serve me to do the water fast in the way that I had planned. And I know enough about myself to respect that, yeah, okay, I in my very humanness had pre-planned a water fast. And while I didn't know the dates of it, I knew that it was right there and it was something that I was going to do. And it became really clear to me that that actually wasn't an appropriate thing for me to be doing in that moment, because I was processing everything that I was processing. And I knew that that would actually tip me on the other side of that line that I was riding. And so it has been bubbling up again for me to do a water fast. And I wasn't sure if the invitation was coming from Spirit, God, the universe, source, divine, or whether it was coming from inside of me, a part of me that I was sitting with pretty intensely. And because it was unclear, I did nothing. I just said, I know that when the moment is right, it will come through clearly. And I will know that it is the time to do the water fast. And so I had that experience where there were kind of like these little false starts. Like there was a little blip. Like I had a girlfriend say that she wanted to do a water fast. And I was like, yes, this is my message. This is the universe telling me. And then it like fizzled out. My conversation with her fizzled out. And I was like, the timing was not right. Right? I did not force it. I was like, the energy dissipated. And so it was merely my being, the organism of me, getting closer. And this weekend I had an experience with my son, and he and I were at dinner, and he noticed how much of my salad I'd eaten. And I felt like I'd eaten a lot of my salad. And he said to me, you didn't eat your salad. And I said, well, I ate a whole bunch of my salad. And I like showed him like all the spots I'd eaten. It was a really big salad. And I said, you know, food has been kind of funny for me recently. And my son is very tapped in. He has a direct connection to the universe, God, source, divine, nature, as do we all. But he doesn't question his connection the way that I have, and that I witness other people questioning their connection. And so he's a really neat individual because it just flows through him. He's not in resistance to what is coming through him from the universe, God, source, divine, nature, spirit. And so he says to me, Mom, I think that you haven't been able to eat as much food because you're digesting a bunch of energy, which is a concept that I talk about in my house readily, because that is something that I experience regularly. If I am processing a lot of emotion, if I am processing a lot of energy, if I'm processing a lot of new concepts or contemplations, it is not uncommon for me to not be able to eat. I can remember having a really big experience with a shaman that was very, very expansive for me. And there were days that I could not eat. I could only drink. I couldn't like chew food. So this is not something new, right? But it was really neat to just have him mirror that back for me. And I said, yeah, I think you're right, baby. And he said, I think you should do a water fast. Now, my children are very aware of water fasting. It's something that we speak openly and freely about in our house and all of the benefits. It is a very cleansing, clearing experience for me. Again, this is not my invitation to you to do it. That is something that I think comes from inside of you. I think it's a calling. And, you know, in a lot of druidic and shamanic practices, cleansing and clearing is a very common practice, one of which is fasting. And there's so many different forms of fasting, right? We can do a water fast, which means that you're not eating any food, you're only drinking water. We can do a technology fast. We can do a meat fast. We can do a processed food fast. There's 9 million ways to do fast. Today, I'm just talking about a water fast, which is not eating. So my son says that I should do a water fast. And I said, you know, baby, I have been thinking about doing a 7-day water fast. I couldn't even get the words out of my mouth. And he goes, nope, no, you shouldn't do 7 days. That would be too much for your body. You need to do 3. Like as if he was just saying to me something casual, right? And he is telling me exactly what I need to hear, because he is so tapped in. And what he didn't understand is that in the moment that he was sharing that with me, I had literally been sitting there thinking, I really am feeling this calling. I'm feeling this pull for a water fast. And then he made the comment about my salad. So that was on Saturday. On Sunday, I was so hungry. I ate so much on Sunday. And I was just witnessing it and curious about it. Like, oh, that's interesting. I woke up on Monday and was like, today's the day. I'm starting the water fast. Now, I really like to do a lead up to the water fast where I will do keto so that my body is already in ketosis, and it makes it much easier for me to do the water fast because my body is not searching for carbohydrates, but I'm already in ketosis. So that's my typical process, is to get myself into ketosis before I do a water fast. But my other practice is to listen when the universe says now, when God says now, when source says now, when nature says now. I listen. I listen even when it doesn't make sense. And so I woke up on Monday morning and was like, now is the moment. And so I did it, right? Sunday night was my last food, and the water fast just started for me. And so a very common thing in water fasts for me, and certainly I hear other people talk about this as well, is that it brings up things that are stuck in your being that need to be processed, that need to be purged, that need to be sat with, loved on, honored, felt, seen, witnessed. And every single time I do a water fast, I've done 3-day water fasts, I've done 5-day water fasts, I've done 7-day water fasts. Every single time, there is just, for me, such a stunning experience. It's so potent. It brings up so many things, not just emotions, not just trauma, not just things that are ready to be purged out of my being, but it also brings up invitations, right? I get very clean and clear inside of my being. And so in the shamanic world, it's called being a hollow bone. And so it's the ability for me to receive so clearly, like my son, to receive things that are really coming through. And that happened for me. Every single time that I have done a water fast, that has happened for me. It's not just that things are purging. It is creating the space. Whenever we purge something, it creates the space for something new to come in, something more aligned, something more authentic, something in the frequency of where we are right now. And typically that takes a couple days. So in the first, 24 hours, oftentimes I don't really notice a whole lot, I guess is what I would say. And by day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, 7, it's a very different experience for me. But this time was really curious. It started happening within hours. And so yesterday afternoon, I noticed these bubbles of rage. And the last time that I did a water fast, which was multiple months ago now, because again, I was planning one in August and my being was like, no. And so it was the spring, the last time that I did a water fast. And I had experienced what I would call feminine rage in that fast. But there was no question for me. It was the most potent expression of feminine rage that I have ever experienced in my being as my own organism. And it was delicious. When it started to bubble up, I was like, ooh, there's that. That's interesting. And then I said, I'm going to be really present with this. I'm going to allow myself to feel it fully. Because whatever it is that is moving through me, that is coming to me, that I am engaging with, that is inside of me, I want to feel it. I want to feel it. And the power of this feminine rage was absolutely delicious. Delicious. Again, I like writing lines, and so I felt that line between rage and empowerment. I felt that line between out of control rage, that kind of like unhinged feminine rage, and the kind of feminine rage that sits you so deeply in the core of your being, in your sacrum, in your womb, in the essence of you as a woman. That is what I touched. And I felt both sides of it, the unhinged feminine rage and the kind of feminine rage that puts you so deeply in contact with the essence of who you are as a woman walking around this earth. Absolute magic. It was absolute magic. I allowed myself to fully experience it, to get lost in the imagery and the visualizations, to get lost in the sensations that were happening inside of my body, to get lost in the noises that wanted to come from me and the expressions that wanted to come from in me. And I allowed myself to fully experience it. And after the peak of that wave, I very much experienced these energies as a wave in the ocean. It crested and it came down. And after that, it was quiet. It was silence. It was peace. It was calmness. But the essence of what it was one of the most intense forms of inner knowing, of self-actualization that I have ever experienced. And sitting in that frequency, sitting in the intensity that is inside of me was such a gift. And if I wasn't willing to experience the peak of the feminine rage, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to experience the liberation that came after it. And that is what it was. It was absolute liberation. And I could feel it as me, but I could also feel it as the feminine across time and space. All expressions of me who've been feminine before, all expressions of collective feminine and the feminine energy that is here on the earthly plane, not just women, right? But the feminine, the intuition, the sensuality, the sexuality, the creativity, the softness, the being, the sitting back and allowing. What came through me and what I got to experience was nothing short of magic. And I wanted to share this experience because sometimes in life we can see mirrors in someone else that invites us into a space and place inside of us. I believe that putting myself in rooms with people who are at a different frequency is one of the best things that I do, because I get caught in the crossfire of their frequency. I get lost in it. I get swept up in it. I get to experience it. And it does something for me. It activates something inside of me. And so I wanted to share this experience with you in the event that you want to sit in this frequency. And if it's not for you, know that. And then you will sit in the frequency of knowing what is not for you. And there is so much medicine in that as well. When we really listen to ourselves, when we say like, this is a frequency that I want to get caught in the crossfire of, I want to feel this. I want to sit in the frequency of what she is talking about, and I want to allow myself to experience it. There is beauty in that. And there is also just as much beauty in the knowing that something is not for you, whether it be right now or forever, right? And it just simply brings us into a deeper part of ourselves, regardless of which camp we're in, if we're willing to honor what is coming through us. Whether it is, yes, I want to feel this. I want to experience it. I'm going to lose myself in this. I'm going to watch this video again. I'm going to experience it. I'm going to put myself out in nature. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to listen to this in a different way. I'm going to dance with this. I'm going to create with this. I'm going to sing with this. I'm going to cook with this. I'm going to shower with this. I'll take a bath with this. I will be in this frequency. I'm going to witness what happens for me. Or whether it is a knowing that this is not medicine for you right now, or possibly ever. In both dynamics, it brings you, into the essence of the uniqueness and the authenticity of who you are. But it only happens when we are consciously aware of what we are experiencing in someone else's energy. I love you. I hope that you have a fabulous fucking day. Mwah.